Through the ups and downs, we stand tall in this journey of growth. Day by day, through the ups and downs, we stand tall in this journey of
It's
growth. Day
disappearing.
by day.
You keep
Good morning.
disappearing.
I know. Got a funny background on. How you doing,
That
Jules?
background, yeah, I'm good. That background is so good that I keep thinking it's actually real.
What book is it? I've got a bookcase background for anyone.
Yeah, the
And it's
bookcase
not my
background
bookcase.
on Riverside FM. The only thing that's making me realise it's not a real bookcase. I keep looking at the Riverside mug and the Riverside cap and the Riverside photo frame
Oh, I
and
hadn't even
thinking,
noticed that.
why is she really likes Riverside?
I'm a fan.
But also you keep disappearing, you keep morphing into the bookcase and becoming one,
Yeah.
as these weird
It's like
backgrounds do.
Interstellar. If anyone's seen that? I'm in the bookcase. Anyway.
Okay, so tell me about our topic. This is your topic.
Well, yeah, no, it's just something that I think's come up quite a lot, or I see. I probably spend more time on social media than you do as well. So it's something that comes up about people basically using social constructs as excuses rather than working on their behaviour. As in, so I just so if I go through what I've derived as what we mean by that. So the social constructs are ideas that society has collectively agreed upon, things like gender roles, midlife crisis, mental health terminology, and personal identity labels. So and they can be useful for like understanding behaviour as such, but well, as it says, they become problematic when people use them as an excuse to avoid accountability. So I don't know if that's something. Do you come across that in, because it's prevalent on social media, I think, and I've got a part on that now. People self-diagnosing or people using, it just saying that they're certain things when they don't actually necessarily know they are. Like their attachment style. So they blame that instead of actually sort of saying that there's something wrong with their relationship or that they're not dealing with something basically, and just using that as well, it's just my attachment style, when knowing that you can actually, yeah, that can be changed.
Mm. So you're seeing this on social media, and it's
Mm.
and it's annoying you.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say more it's just everywhere at the moment. So then I think it causes people that don't understand things. So, and I see this a lot on TikTok, is people that are maybe a bit more vulnerable to this kind of speech will then put themselves into that bracket, say, and I think it then creates a limiting belief for people that don't necessarily understand what these concepts are on a psychological basis. So, people that are saying that they've got ADHD, I mean, at one time in a day, you could put me on a spectrum of having ADHD, but yet I would not go as far as to go somewhere and get diagnosed. I don't believe that I would be, but to everyone can be anything, like, oh, he's a narcissist. Well, everybody's got some sort of level of narcissism in them, or you wouldn't be a human being. So I don't know. I think it's more, I just think it can be quite dangerous when there's people aren't investigating things thoroughly, like people that say they don't have a balanced view on what that actually means. They'll see one side of it and take that, and then they're suddenly a victim.
So do you think there's two kind of prongs to this? In my head, I can see like social construct at the top with two,
Mm.
almost. What do you call that kind of diagram? Like a spider diagram, I suppose, to some extent, where you've got two prongs coming out of social construct, and then you've got people who have been diagnosed
Yes.
with
Yeah,
something,
this is,
because these
yeah.
aren't all diagnosable things. Like you say, attachment style isn't.
Mm.
A, it's not a diagnosable pathology, and
Yeah.
B, um, people often have little bits of each, or different circumstances they have
Mm.
bits of each, and like you say, it can be um, worked on and changed. So you've got diagnosable, and then you've got undiagnosable things where people's put themselves in a bracket. What about the people who have been diagnosed with something? So because you've talked about self-diagnosis, which is,
Mm.
you know clearly happening. But what about when it's been a formal diagnosis? Do you think those people are do you think they're more likely to use that differently? Do you think they're more likely to be working on it? And
Yeah, I think maybe they're directed because they've been professionally diagnosed. They're then actually given the tools and resources to then be able to basically live their life in a way that either adapts to whatever, because it could be anything, right? That either adapts to that or given the tools to be able to work on ways of perhaps improving
mm,
their diagnosis, say. And I don't think it's a bad thing for people that might not actually be aware, if that's the only place that they can find their awareness, but then they go and actually speak to somebody that can officially diagnose them or give them the assets that they might need to help them.
and does it frustrate you? Because I don't know, I've got quite a lot of views on this, but I'm interested in
Mm,
yours. One of the things that goes on for me is that um, I, both of us, you and I, we manage life pretty well, um, but it's not always easy. Managing life well doesn't mean it's
mm,
always easy, and I certainly have people around me who talk to me as though my way of living is easy for me, rather than me putting in the effort to do it. But what I don't know is whether it is easy for me or is easier for me. And so, do you feel like um, sometimes there's situations where you've experienced the same as another person, but you've kind of worked bloody hard to push on through and grow and develop and adapt and change, and they're kind of sitting there in the same place using the social construct as a reason that they can't
mm.
work hard?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I do think that there's a lot of that, and it kind of stagnates you, perhaps. But then, if I suppose if they're happy in identifying as that, whatever that may be, but maybe they don't want to move on. Perhaps I don't know. I know
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. That yeah, because you constant improvement or trying to you meet a hurdle and then you try and get over it,
Mm.
but other people just want to stay stuck there, and it's kind of quite frustrating to watch.
Do you think they necessarily feel stuck, or do you think that society they feel judged by society if they say I'm content where I am and I don't feel a need to change?
Yeah, probably because you just then think, why would you want to continually suffer when you can get out of this?
Yeah. And maybe they're not necessarily suffering.
Mm.
I don't know. I know that my desire and um my aim in life is to continuously um face challenges and challenge myself and push myself. And so I think I would be confused by someone who was happy to not do that, who was happy to simply be. But maybe my confusion is met, they feel that as a judgment
Yeah, probably.
and use a social construct as a reason why they can't. So are any social constructs helpful in your opinion?
I don't know. I think for identifying things and may possibly understanding yourself, then yeah. But then you can say I don't know, like if you say that you have got sort of you didn't know a lot about ADHD and to be quite honest with you, I don't know loads about it. You probably know more. Well, you do know more. So then you would perhaps see something and think, oh, identify as that, and then go and see your doctor, and then maybe you would get help and you'd be able to understand certain behaviors. Say if you kept repeating something that was quite destructive to your life that you wanted to change, if that with that understanding you could then perhaps move forward or be able to understand why that's happening and then be able to change.
So do you think social constructs are helpful for like exactly like you say, understanding rather than identifying? So
Mm.
so because I view there's so many, aren't there? There's so many different
Yeah,
social
this is it.
constructs.
It's just one thing after another with certain. I don't know, like there's certain ways that people describe their behaviours. You're like, yeah, but that's this as a as a diagnosis, say, and then they're like, oh yeah, but I don't know. There's an example. I'm just a blunt person, like, which is excusing sort of rudeness as honesty.
Oh, I do that.
There you go.
Um, but
Creates unnecessary conflict, stunts personal growth, and
oh,
damages relationships under the guise of authenticity.
oh,
Oh, that's interesting. That one's one I picked up, isn't it?
but I think my opinion is that um, I view some of these things as like, when you go for a corporate job, for example, and they make you do the what do they call them? Personality profiling type
I haven't done one of those for years, but
questionnaires.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe they can see straight through you. They don't need you to do the test.
Not with this bookcase, they can't.
Well, they can actually with
Yeah,
that
actually, that's a
bookcase
lie. I'm like Casper.
as you disappear.
Oh.
Um, but they, or do they not still do those things? But like the Myers-Briggs and stuff. Um, and I always thought that they were
I
you could
loved them.
manipulate
I
them quite
loved them.
well. So,
Yeah.
well, but so they do those, and they do those for a reason. And I've always viewed these kind of social constructs, if you like, a bit like that. So they're kind of analysing your personality, your way of thinking, and
Mm.
then you can take that and use that to your advantage. So
Yeah.
I actually don't know mess about ADHD. I mean, I think that ADHD presents, from my experience of ADHD, from talking to people in my therapy work who have ADHD
Mm.
or a diagnosis of ADHD, the presentation of ADHD is actually very different to what I've seen in these kind of reels that people
Yeah.
post, like my ADHD brain. I mean, I saw one the other day. I don't know what the account is, and I had literally saw this one reel, so this might be like the thing they do, but it was a couple in bed, and she was scrolling her phone and he was talking to her, and she was kind of paying attention for 5 seconds, and then she was on another subject and stuff. And the tagline was like, talking to my girlfriend with ADHD. And I
Mm.
thought, actually, no, you're just talking to someone who's scrolling your phone. If you put that
Yeah.
into a different perspective, that's like your girlfriend having a conversation with three other people in the bed, and you expecting her to be able to focus on what you're saying whilst she's dipping in and out of the conversation with you and talking
That's a
to,
really good
like,
example.
to me that's not ADHD.
Yeah.
She might have ADHD, but it's not ADHD. It's
Yeah, that's yeah. And this is
that's
the kind of thing, yeah, that's a really good example of the kind of thing that is getting and yeah, maybe it is annoying me.
but on the flip side,
Yeah.
I I have, you know, there's a client I can think of who's just had a diagnosis of ADHD. Now this person is very successful in their career. They seem to have a fairly successful family life, and they have a very active kind of social life with lots of hobbies, and everything on paper is pretty is very is functioning very well and pretty good. But what they found is they um, maybe like they put themselves under a lot of pressure to keep everyone happy at work, and then they've read that this is like an ADHD trait, and it's something that they feel has made their life harder work, and they now understand themselves. So they're not kind of saying, I've got ADHD, therefore I can't. But having this ADHD diagnosis, they've started working with an ADHD coach who's helping them to
Yeah.
see what aspects of their personality are based on the ADHD and how they can um, bring certain things into life that will just make life a little bit easier. So it's not that they're not functioning, it's not that they can't. They're doing that really well already,
But
but then
that,
been
yeah,
given this personality profile
yeah,
that means
yeah.
that they now can say, oh, wow, okay, so if I did that, then that one thing that I'm already doing will actually be much easier for me.
Mm,
And so it, rather than it being an excuse to not do things,
mm,
it's a it's a learning ways to do things. Yeah, I don't know, like if you were a runner and you usually only run 4 miles at a time, you'd never run longer, and then you wanted to train for a marathon. Someone who's an experienced marathon runner might say, well, actually, instead of doing this how you already do your 4 miles, if you do this, then you'll find, and it's
yeah.
that's how I see it being beneficial.
Mm.
But that's not how you're seeing it being used.
No, I think it's. I think a lot of people are using it the other way round.
And is it annoying you because they're taking things that are actually quite um, nuanced, deep theories and using them flippantly?
I don't necessarily know that it's that. I just think that it's kind of like, oh, I'll give up. I've got ADHD and I don't have to do, or using that as an example. I'm not just saying that everybody with ADHD would do that, but it's more, yeah,
Unfortunately,
and
ADHD is a thing that I've seen a lot as well.
yeah,
And like you say, I don't really scroll social media, but when I have seen it, it's been. Um, but I think this has been done. This has been done forever because, well, not forever, but I had a bit of a frustration with this years ago, before social media, really, with people using the term OCD.
oh, of course, yeah, yeah. But
I'm
that was probably the
OCD,
buzz
so
term then, wasn't it?
well, maybe it was, but it was not on social media, so it was like uh, I'm OCD, so I I put my trainers away when I get home or whatever because I'm OCD, or because of my OCD, I I can't like have that in
Yeah,
the cupboard, without realizing that people actually with obsessive compulsive disorder have really intrusive, really dark, really terrifying thoughts. And OCD
mm,
isn't a flippant
yeah,
kind of pathology. It's not something that anyone should be throwing around with a like,
mm,
oh, she's OCD. Like, oh, because someone's organized or someone's tidy, they're not
yeah,
OCD, they're organized or they're tidy.
yeah.
Um,
And that's it, trying to group people together in that sort of way.
yeah.
I see it, like with swearing or whatever. I'm like, oh, we've got Tourette's, but that's something that people really suffer with, that
Oh,
that
yeah.
people will throw around.
It's really extreme. So do you think that it's like a get out of jail free card for people?
Definitely. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think it's avoidance of doing the work on certain areas that you're not excelling in,
why do you think that's happening?
because actually doing the work isn't easy, is it?
No, well, doing the work, it's not. It's definitely not easy. No. Um,
It's the easy. I think it's the easy way, instead of you having to actually look in the mirror and face up to things.
mm,
That's a harsh look, but you know.
still though, going back to if people actually want to
Mm.
do things differently,
But then they must want something, because if you're going to be going on about it,
maybe they want
do they
to
want
do
the
nothing.
attention? Or do,
Maybe
or do
do.
they want the attention? Oh, so and so's rude because they've got attachment issues.
Mm. Do you think as well then? Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we've
Sorry, go on.
we've had a conversation about this morning, but about people not responding to
Yeah.
messages. Do you think then that um, there's kind of without going into too much detail, the conversation we've had this morning has been about someone not responding to a message that I sent them for 3 weeks, which
Mm.
asked questions, and it's the first message I've sent that person in a long time. So um, it's not like a back and forth conversation with a friend that they could have just forgotten. Um, and my perspective is that's rude. My expectation is that we should respond to people, obviously not instantly, um, but there was clearly not going to be well, I would imagine there was not going to be a response to this message if I hadn't chased it. But from the other perspective, is there a thing about how our expectations are too high and that we shouldn't have to respond to people? I mean, this is kind of going off topic, but where I'm trying to get with this is, our expectations confused by the internet and social media, and are people confused in their own minds about expectations? And
Well, I think if that's the only place that people go to get their information, and they don't actually, social media can be biased, right? You've got people on there that have got no training, no education, go and telling their story, which is not wrong. Okay, people can go and do what they want on their channel. You don't have to listen to it. But I think the way that it's molded and the way that your algorithm can end up, if people don't understand it, they could be getting fed things that aren't entirely true, where if you have the education and the background to have a balanced view on something, and to understand how to research something properly, like people will go on and think they've got all of their information but not know that that person is really biased towards, they might even be getting paid by, you see all these CBD things on there, and people that have got ADHD, possibly diagnosed, I don't know, it's just a blanket statement, but they'll be going and selling CBD products, so they calm down my ADHD, they can't. And then people that aren't necessarily, might just go and medicate with something that they've seen people advertising. So I think there's a danger there, with not actually having a balanced view on what research on something is as well. Like, I've read loads on psychology, I've read loads on hypnotherapy. Well, what have you read? How do you know that what you've read's an accurate, balanced view? And would you even know how to do that?
do you think it affects people more in their relationship? So, you know, there's two different things again, like talking about the using the diagnosis or the social construct
Mm,
as an excuse to not do something in your own life,
mm,
and then the the thing that you brought up before about, I'm just blunt, or disguising
mm,
it as honesty, that thing, that's in relation to other people. So they're two quite different things. Like one's kind of excusing behavior, treat how you treat other people, and the
mm,
other's excusing a lack of kind of growth in your personal life.
mm. Well, like you say, people want to stay like that, but then they'd want to stay like that and then be in their victim mentality.
Yeah, and a victim mentality, that sounds really harsh. I feel like that sounds really harsh, but actually, um, enabling someone to be a victim isn't helping anyone. Actually, pulling people up on this, and it's really hard, isn't it, to navigate it, perhaps as a friend.
Mm,
Um, but uh, I think it is important as a friend as well, when to kindly and respect, with loving kindness, um, help people see, when they're stuck in that victim
mm.
mode.
But if they want to, so then what do you do when that, say you have a friend that doesn't, like if you were to turn around to me and say I wasn't seeing something, perhaps, which is quite possible, I would welcome you coming to me and just saying, oh, did you know that you were doing this? Did you know that I've noticed a pattern in something that you're doing? I would welcome that, because I'd see that as an opportunity for me to improve. Whereas other people might just think that you're just being really, it's not the timing for it, or they don't want to hear it.
Mm.
Perhaps they want to believe in this. That's where they're going to stay, because they want to believe in that.
Yeah.
Is it a fixed and growth mindset thing, or is it just a lack of education, or is it just a want to believe that you've got, whatever the latest thing is?
What about limiting beliefs being put on people? What about people actually, having? What about if we looked at this differently and
Mm,
had some compassion for these people? And because at the moment we're talking as though it's almost like they know they're using it as an excuse. They know they're putting down that get out of jail free
Mm.
card. They know if they say I've got whatever, um, no one's going to question it, because you can, this woke society won't question that. Um, but what about if it's not that? What about if actually they've been told so many times? Because, like you say, algorithms on social media, you're scrolling, you're
Mm.
continuously, and like you, I I could have ADHD if I believed those reels. I don't have ADHD. Well, I don't think I do. Um, but I absolutely could if I believed those things, because I could fit into every single one of them, I
Yeah.
reckon.
Oh, yeah.
But what about if you took that on? If you because you didn't have the awareness not to, and every day you're getting shown for
Mm.
an hour a day something that's saying you can't do this, because surely that's no different to what we know is wrong, but we see happening a lot when a parent or an authority figure, a school teacher or something, tells a child that they can't do something because they're not clever enough, or they haven't got the right grades,
Mm.
or they're not pretty enough, or whatever. We would view that as really wrong, but we wouldn't blame the child, we'd blame the authority figure. What about if people are really being kind of manipulated?
But this is what I mean about how you can go down those rabbit holes on social, and you keep getting told something over and over again. But if you don't understand where to go, social media isn't somewhere that I would go to get diagnosed with something, say, if I thought I had something wrong. But then if you're continually watching these things, then regardless of a diagnosis, you're going to put yourself in that, if you've got some sort of small personality trait perhaps that matches something that somebody that you're following, and you like that creator, say, then
But you
you're
might
just
not
going to
think,
put yourself.
yeah, those people might not think they even have the power. Like, they might be being
Mm.
disempowered by social
Yeah.
media.
Mm.
Um, and
But that's why I think it's quite dangerous with things that that's why I think social media can be quite dangerous when it comes to that aspect of people just looking at these constructs, or even the actual diagnosis of other people.
yeah,
And like, right, I've got it, and they don't even, and they don't take it any further. They just look.
the thing that I mean, I don't I don't really put energy into looking at this stuff. The times, like I just mentioned, the ADHD reel that I saw
Mm.
did bug me. So it's just another reason not to look at it. But the one thing that kind of does, I feel like I want to correct people when I hear it, and I don't, but it kind of, there's a reaction inside of me, is when people say, I have to get my phrasing right here, they say something like, I have ADHD, therefore I can't. And I've heard this multiple times. And we're using ADHD here. I don't know why, because there's so many different
But
social
yeah,
constructs,
yeah,
aren't there? I mean, there's tons
that's
of
not.
them.
It feels like picking on it, but yeah.
We shouldn't use ADHD. But when they say, I've got something, therefore I can't do whatever. And I think that it's really important to turn that around, because it's not that you can't do that because you've got ADHD. You've got ADHD because you can't do that.
Mm.
Does that make
Yeah, yeah.
sense? Like, you got your diagnosis because you went to a psychologist and you said, these are the things I struggle with, and this is the way I behave, and this is the way that makes me react. And they say, oh, those things are all characteristics of ADHD, rather than
Mm.
someone coming and saying, let me scan your brain. Oh, yes, I see you've got this missing kind of whatever. Therefore, you've got ADHD, which means you're not going to be able to do this, 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 and this. It's not
Mm.
like infertility. You've had your womb taken out, and therefore you can't
Yeah,
conceive a baby. It's not that. It's not that way round. These things aren't pathological, I guess, is the
yeah.
thing. There's nothing actually wrong. It's just those characteristics mean that we'll put you in that box.
Or is it because of the information that we've got, that we know that you can help people to move and either, I wouldn't say cope, but um, improve.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think
Or are
we're
we
in a,
being arrogant?
I think we're being arrogant, and I think we're being,
Or am I?
we're putting ourselves in on a kind of pedestal, but and and not really having much compassion and not realizing that actually maybe these people are not kind of manipulative or or like bad at their at the core, but I think that it's really hard when you work with people and when you have challenges in life and you've managed to overcome them, like you've had challenges um in terms of like childhood and addiction and things, and I don't feel like I've had those kind of challenges, but I do feel like take me going out running, for example. When I was at school and we did those cross country things, I was always last. I mean, maybe there was a couple of strugglers behind me, but I was
Mm,
always, without fail, last. Um, I even I run every day now, but I even took me, my friend who is 10 years older than me, took me to an athletics meet thing. I mean, there was only like 5 or 6 people there. All of them were older than me. So the reason I'm saying this is because I want to make the point that
mm,
I should be, I should have like, I'm fit. I exercise for an hour every day. I am healthy, I, and I therefore should have a greater ability from that perspective than these people who are all, were all kind of 10 years older than me. Yet I was so bad at it that it was like, well, it was like I was a special needs runner because I don't know if that's really derogatory, but they'd all finished what the thing we had to do and kind of stand at the end, come on, Juliet, come on, clapping me as I, caught them up. And so the point I'm trying to make is that I don't find running easy. I do not
yeah.
find it easy in the slightest, but I push myself and go like 4 times a day. So that to me is overcoming a challenge and working hard at something. Um, and it is frustrating when you work hard at something that you're not very good at, and then other people kind of say they'd like to do something, but just say, I could never do that. And it's like, well, you really could do
Mm,
that. You just need to put in a little bit of effort. And it's very, I think it's very, maybe it is like internal versus external locus of control. It's very much like kind of accepting of your fate and not recognizing that you could. And so I like, what you, that's a roundabout way to say, I think that we are being judgmental and a little bit arrogant, but also it is frustrating when you put in the effort personally yourself to create change, and also you you work with people and you see other people putting in the effort to make
mm,
change. It is frustrating when people kind of say they want to change but say that they can't because of. But then having said that, what about when you were drinking too much alcohol and you knew that you shouldn't have been, but you didn't change?
yeah. But then I knew I could. I just knew I had to put the effort in, and it wouldn't be.
But why
I
didn't
never
you?
thought I couldn't because it was really hard.
Uh, so maybe it's like that mirror. Maybe this is like
Yeah, yeah. This is
projection.
the
This
yeah.
is projection. Like you didn't like that about yourself, and now you've
No.
managed to. I think that's a thing as well,
So
isn't it?
now I can sit on my high horse.
But that's very much the way it is, isn't it? When we
Yeah.
overcome something, we do get annoyed with other people who aren't doing the same. Well, we do.
I never
Not
no, but I
everyone
never
does.
thought that I could. I never thought that I couldn't do it. I just it was a timing aspect. I think when it came to that, maybe if people were just like, yeah, I know I can, um, but not yet. I don't know. Maybe it's a lack of accountability. I find is
Mm,
the hardest. But like if people understand that, like a good example. I mean, the drinking is, I knew it was a problem, but I didn't want to stop doing it at the time. But I didn't sit there going, "Oh no, alcohol's not a problem for me." Like I knew it was. I suppose it's when people sit there going, "Oh no, it's not a problem,"
And what about if there was
but it
someone
is.
what about if there was someone alongside you who had done what you've done now and
Mm.
was, you know, kind of having the same viewpoint as you've got now of yourself? How would you have felt?
I'd have probably been like, "Yeah, you're right." Well, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it.
Well, you did,
That's
didn't you?
It's
What
one of the long list of things I need to, and there's still a list now. This is the thing. I'm not sitting there thinking that, oh, I'm cured.
what
There's
social
still lots to work on. But
what social
maybe
construct are
it's
you hiding behind now?
um oh, I don't know. What am I hiding behind? Tourette's? No. That's not a social construct. Sorry to anyone with Tourette's. Um, yeah, I don't know. Do you know?
No, I don't think you're hiding behind any social construct, but I think it's fair to say that you know, I've got compassion.
I probably am.
Have you got compassion? I don't know how if you've got compassion for
Mm.
people hiding behind a social construct. I think I've got
I
compassion and I
think,
try to find the reason for it, but it does annoy me.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's more, yeah, I don't know if it's the annoyance side of it or just there's more to it. Do some more, do further, speak to different people. Don't just look on social media.
Is it only people on social media that kind of cause this, that trigger you, or is it
No,
people in your
there's
life as
other,
well?
yeah, yeah, there is.
And so, um, would you pull these people up on it?
Yes,
And
yes, I do.
and does it? What's the reaction to that?
Um, yeah, I don't go too hard, but I don't not say anything. But I don't say, well, you should be doing that. You should be doing this. I don't say that. I kind of more just go, well, I don't agree with people when they're making excuses as such.
Do you think it's easier to say I've
In
got?
a friend setting, obviously not.
Do you think it's easier
There's
to
different.
say like, oh, it's because I've got anxious attachment style than it is to say I'm not ready to work on that yet?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course, it's easier to say that than actually admit to sort of a deeper problem or the fact that you've got a flaw, perhaps.
Does it
You might not
frustrate
even
you
see it as
when?
a flaw.
Yeah, well, yeah. Does it frustrate you when people take the easy route? It does me.
Yeah, but then if there was an easy route to stop drinking, I would have taken that myself. So there
Well,
was
the
the
easy
but
route is to not do
the
anything.
hmm,
Well, some of this, I think, what about like I often say to clients, the brain wants to go with what's familiar rather than not. So even if the familiar is, I often use the example of someone in abusive relationships and how the brain will go, um, like it will go back to that because it's familiar, therefore it feels safe.
mm,
I think people they don't have this awareness, and so they don't understand that. I think you've got far more understanding and awareness than you realize you have, and I've certainly made this mistake with people. I assume that the knowledge I have about um, how human beings work, if you like, I assume that that's basic knowledge that everyone has.
yeah, I suppose. But then, yeah, but I suppose it's from having so many flaws myself and so many things that I've needed to work on that I've had to look into all of this and study it. And
Yeah, but there's other things that people are looking
so
into
this
and
is why I'm probably it annoys me more because I just think, well, no, you can get over that, or not get. I'm not saying everything's something to be got to get over, but there's you can manage things, you can alter your behavior to fit into
What about if
um
there's a confusion between, so for example,
hmm,
let's take horses, because we both like horses. We talk about horses,
yeah,
but neither of us know massive, like, there's people out there who have
yeah. Oh, I
studied
don't
horse
know.
psychology
I've
and
not.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I'd love to
So,
be that good at that.
or even
Yeah,
like, I think we should remove psychology from this completely. But let's take uh, rocks, geology, rocks, and that stuff.
yeah,
There's people who have studied that to like who study it so intently that their whole life is about rocks, and so they're in a completely different world to us, and all of their algorithms are all rock based, and
yeah,
everything they see on social media is all about rocks. And they don't even know this. They don't even know this psychology
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
exists. Like, they probably,
yeah.
they're so, it's not in their, it's not in their what's the word, what they
Yeah,
see. Yeah, echo chamber. It's not in their
that's
echo
it.
chamber. So this is all rocks. When they go out and to these things, it's with rock people. Their podcasts are about rocks. Everything's about rocks, right? Now, I wonder how they'd feel if you went to the beach and you saw a rock and you took a photo of it and you started to talk and you wrote your layperson's understanding of rock and put this whole social media post about this rock. And then the next day you went to another beach and you did it again, and you've got these kind of, you're starting to get like a little bit of an Instagram feed on like the rocks you've seen, with a little bit of kind of, this rock has got like this, someone tells you, it's made up of
Yeah,
like whatever, soil and zinc, or I don't know, I don't do rocks. And so you write that, like,
you're
look at this
offending the rock
rock
people
made
now.
up of like zinc, and this pops into there, and you've put a hashtag rock, and this pops into um their feed, and they're going to be like, this is just, what is she right? Like, she doesn't know about rocks. Who does she think she's posting about rocks? And like, what is she even writing? This is just a load of rubbish. And do you think that it's almost become a bit like that? Now what I actually believe is that a greater percentage of the population have suddenly, like, these social constructs that we're talking about have become very, very, very mainstream, almost
Mm,
almost kind of like part of everyday language for 80% of people, if you like. And um and so it's now all over the place, but not none, or so few of these people are actually have the depth of understanding
mm,
that people who have studied it to a higher level do.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you're feeling like everyone has the same knowledge as you.
yeah. I suppose so. And that comes down to as well people that when you're talking about the social side of things is like diet and things like that. When people don't understand that processed foods are bad for you, I'm like, how can you not understand that?
Yeah,
How can you not eat whole foods? And then people, oh, pasta whole. No, it's not.
yeah.
Like, but I suppose I was looking at my Amazon history from when Amazon first came
Mm,
out, and books and stuff like that. And all I've ever bought was books on like understanding diet and
yeah,
psychology and things like that.
yeah.
So yeah,
So imagine if
yeah,
you'd never read any of them.
yeah. And I do take it for granted now because I'm just like, oh, of course it's not whole food. Ugh.
Yeah. But even I thought I understood that. And now I'm doing Zoe. Did I tell you I'm doing Zoe?
Yes, you did mention it.
Ah,
Yes.
sorry, I thought. Well, anyway. So I have, because I wanted to stop eating. I usually buy Lindt, not an ad, 90% cacao chocolate, or
Make your
Sainsbury's
own.
taste the difference. Yeah,
Make your
exactly.
own.
Until I listened to a Zoe podcast from a chocolate expert who said I really shouldn't be buying that mass produced stuff because it is not good for the people who pick the cacao, and um, all of these reasons. But exactly, I should make my own, because when you go, because I should be buying craft chocolate, and when I look at the price of craft chocolate for a bar that's smaller than my Lindt 90%. It's £10. £10.
Yeah,
I
but you
they
you
wanted.
can buy those. You can buy those the cacao buttons.
Yes,
They're 100%
exactly. So I do.
bit of honey.
I do that every now and again, and I buy cacao nibs, organic, 100% cacao nibs, and some cacao butter, and put it. I sometimes put some other stuff in there just to
Mm.
like almond
Jazz
flour
it
or
up.
something, just to jazz it up. However, Zoe is pulling me up on my cacao nibs and marking them as bad because they are
Oh,
a processed food.
wow.
They are ultra processed according to Zoe. So now I'm back on the lin 90%. I mean, I do think I should send in my feedback because there is clearly a conflict here because it's the Zoe podcast that tells me I should be eating the like craft chocolate and the traceable cacao and that it's good for me, but at the same time, and I shouldn't be having this mass produced, but at the same time is marking that mass produced stuff as better than I think there's a conflict. Um,
Mm,
but either way, my point stands. I didn't think I was eating any ultra processed foods really at all.
yeah.
Um, that chocolate is obviously, but 100% cacao nibs, organic. I don't know how else. I'm not going to get the. Well, I suppose it wants me to get the pod, doesn't it, off the chocolate tree
Mm.
and literally grind it myself. I bet if I put chocolate pod in there, I can't get that, can I? I live in England. God's sake, damn it! When are we going to talk about this?
These are barriers that you need to overcome
Um,
instead of making excuses.
this is what is this social construct that I'm hiding under? Lack of ability to get a cacao pod
Yeah.
from a cacao tree. Therefore, I cannot stop eating ultra processed foods because cannot
That's your
can't put
first
in the
world
effort to
problem.
go and get my pod. Juliet, you should be picking your own pods. This is a
Just stop
social
it.
contract that you're hiding beneath.
Oh, I don't know. But do you think it's as well? Do you think? Yeah. I just, is it my lack of, have I got a lack of
You've
empathy?
got a lack of empathy, and you have got a lack of compassion, and I will say that. But I also
I take
completely
that.
understand, and it does frustrate me also, and and I think the compassionate side of me thinks that people probably are genuinely being kind of um, maybe there's an underlying agenda. Maybe that's it. Maybe the
Mm.
dark, what do they call them?
Well, they
Maybe they are
do,
trying to
no,
suppress
but
people.
when
Mm.
you hear you see all these, I don't know, like phone farms. You
Mm.
see them in China.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
not blaming it on the Chinese, but they have, and they know, or there's things that they can put out to tell what mood the country's in, like
yeah,
collectively,
yeah,
and then they can feed things into people's algorithms to then change the mood of the
yeah.
country.
So maybe there's an
If you're
agenda.
that stuck on it, or if you don't have that much of an
Yeah.
understanding, and
Well,
like you say, the algorithm. I went into,
oh, you've gone.
I
Sorry,
went,
you just turned into a
oh,
bookshelf.
oh. I'm still here. I went down the bird of prey algorithm the other week, and it was very pleasant.
Well, there you go.
Um,
But I bet they
yeah.
wouldn't. They would lynch you if you posted about a bird of prey. If they were
Oh,
anything like you,
yeah,
they'd have a
yeah.
podcast.
I start
This
posting about the
person,
pigeons I can
this
see.
person who's posting
Yeah,
about birds of prey with no knowledge.
yeah. Might
Um,
go down that road.
yeah, I think from a
Knowledge is power, basically.
yeah, you're right. And from a compassionate perspective, I think people. Oh my gosh, you've gone again. You've literally gone. Well, how does that happen? Why do
If I sit still
so?
long enough.
Never mind hiding behind social constructs. What about people who hide behind virtual backgrounds?
Yeah, I know
Because
it's really
that's a
annoying. I
thing
wish I
as
hadn't turned
well.
it on now. I found it really distracting today.
It's so
Really
funny.
distracting.
Every now and then I want to go, "What's that book?"
Yeah,
And then I
not
realise
mine.
it's not you. Um. Anyway, I think we can round this off. But while you sit there and flailing
Sorry.
at being there and not being there.
This is why you shouldn't have backgrounds on. They're distracting.
Darren Brown. Some people.
Yes, I do know of
Well,
him.
did I tell you I've seen him live? Did I tell you I've met him? Did I tell you I was
Oh,
at the hypnotherapy conference speaking on the same stage,
Oh,
different room,
on his
different
stage.
stage, different room, same convention. Anyway, Darren
Don't
Brown,
forget that.
I think, would probably even admit himself that, you know, his television programs are TV programs. They're not, you know, some of this stuff he might not really be doing. And I'm just thinking of you as a hypnotherapist. You could become a hypnotist and use virtual backgrounds and disappear.
Shazam.
Yeah. Do you know that David Blaine? How did he sit in a box for 100 days?
Was there something to do with illusion with it? Obviously.
I
Oh, was
I
there
don't think he
smoke
did
and
actually
mirrors?
sit in the box for 100 days. Very interesting.
I have no idea
I
how.
will bet
Where did
ChatGPT
he
knows.
go? What's he doing?
He's still. Someone saw him on stage. He's on stage, I think.
Oh,
Yeah. Let's round this off by
yeah.
saying that actually, from a compassionate perspective, people we wonder. I wonder if people are being pushed down, told they can't achieve, told they can't do as well as they'd like to do by social media, and it might not actually be them hiding behind a social construct. It might actually be that they genuinely have lost all belief in themselves because of what they're
Yeah.
reading. And maybe we should
Very
try and
good.
help these people instead of just getting irritated by them.
Very good way to end it there, Jill. I'll box up my irritation and turn it into empathy.
Yeah.
That's something I shall work on,
Yeah.
as I'm not fixed in my thoughts. I'm open to change.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This journey of life with friendship as our guide, together we'll grow, 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 grow. Grow together we'll grow, grow, grow.